Welcome to our morning show today on WRCO Radio, Greater Richland Area Chamber of Commerce, our subject. And in the studio with us, Vice President of the Chamber, Craig Woodhouse, and Board Member Terry Richards, set to talk about our monthly visit concerning the Chamber and things going on. Terry, how are you doing? Good to see you.
We're great this morning, Phil. Wasn't it a wonderful weekend?
It was.
Yeah. I'm feeling a little sore from working in the flower beds.
Too much.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
That's a good problem to have, though.
It is.
So lots of people out working in their yards, but also downtown Richland Center, it seemed like it was quite busy.
Yeah, the energy was good. There was a lot of things going on. Definitely. Julie Cairns had a nice little event, and the drug take back day was also on Saturday. There was a bunch of things going on. So it was lovely.
You saw a lot of foot traffic at your store at Mastodon Records, too, Craig.
We did. Saturday morning was busy. We had the front door open, and the sun was spilling in, and it was warm enough to have the front door open. That's always good. And but yeah, we had a nice little crowd in there, mingling, socializing, and looking at books and records and talking about all of the things that that we like to do around here. So it was a beautiful weekend.
Only thing I didn't like about it is I had to move out of the way when paying customers were coming up to the cash register. So
yeah, sometimes the loiterers come in, and occupy that space up by the counter. But no, we got the loiterers out of the way so we could get back to business, and it was a good weekend.
Make some money then. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. Yeah. Terry, we want to talk first of all about a guidebook.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
I'm super excited about this project. It honestly kind of came to me about 2 months ago. Dana Wilson, one of our lab directors at the hospital, she's like, "Hey, do you have any guidebook or anything? Because I'm going to a educational fair, and I'm going to try to recruit some people to come to work in our lab." And I'd love to have something to hand out to these folks that are going to come by and stop at my booth. And so do you have anything? And I'm like, well, funny that you said that, because we're looking at making something like that, but we really haven't gotten going with it yet. And so then I got thinking, well, we probably should be making something like that and kind of getting on that, especially since in my role at the hospital, I work in employee health, and so we do a lot of onboarding of new employees. And June and July and even May are some of our heaviest onboarding months. We tend to see a lot of new employees come in the doors through that at that point. And a lot of it's, the schools are graduating, and they've got their licenses or their certifications, and now they're available. And so I thought, boy, we really need to kind of hop on this and get going. And so I started this project, and of course, like any project that I start, it starts out in my mind really simple, and then now it's like elaborate 30-page spread of it's a lot, but I'm enjoying the process. And so there are 3 of us working on this project, and it's kind of a group collaboration of writing, which kind of takes me back to my days at the Richland campus when I took English and we had to write in a group. It's a little bit of a challenge to get 3 people together to write and do this, but we're using Google Docs and we're writing together. And so we made an outline, and we assigned all the different sections to the guidebook to each one of us, and we've begun writing. We've got probably a good, I'd say almost 70% of it written in rough draft. Of course, there's a lot of grammar that's got to be handled, but this guidebook is going to be really similar to Marty's tourism book, the full color book that a lot of people have seen in the businesses. And his book is about 25 pages, somewhere in there, and ours is going to be about the same. It will actually look really quite similar to that, but our branding colors will be more the chamber colors. So you'll see the cobalt blue and the green and the yellow that we use. And so I've already laid out all the pages, and I've started to put the text into the text blocks and stuff. So I'm doing all of the graphic design on it as well. And it's really kind of coming together nicely. And one of the things that we're looking at doing is we're putting these little blocks in with testimonials. So what we're looking for from the community is we're looking for people to give us testimonials of why they live here and what they love about living here. Because this book is really more of a story about this area, and why would somebody from Chicago or Milwaukee or anywhere want to come out here and live here. And so we have so much to offer, and it's truly an amazing place to live and raise your kids and have family. And so we want to share that story with others. And so the real idea is, so somebody like Dana, or if Bruce is trying to recruit a new doctor to come to the hospital, he has a book that he can hand to a recruiting candidate. Same for Noah Crockett at Rockwell. He's wanting it as well. So we're wanting this for the employers actually to hand to potential candidates who are wanting to work in this area. And we want to put our best foot forward so that that candidate doesn't even think about maybe the other 3 job offers they have, that they look at this book and they're like, wow, this community really looks like it has everything I want.
So you would have a kind of a layout of the chamber members and things like that?
So at the beginning, there's a greeting page, that talks about the chamber members and what the chamber does, of course. But it kind of goes through and talks about more of our features. So, I worked as a flight attendant for 8 years, and the first 3 years, it was a great job, and I loved it, and there was kind of a honeymoon period. But for a while there, I started to kind of get homesick and wanted to be home more, and started to really realize that, these big cities are amazing, but what we have here is wonderful for daily life. And so I decided, no, we're going to stay here. We're not going to move. We're going to keep our roots here. And if that's going to happen, we need to help this community. So Marty started doing tourism. I started doing chamber, and we decided that we're going to try to make this place a place that people want to come to. And there's a little frustration because all 3 of our daughters don't live here. You raise them and go see the world, and then they take off on you and leave. But our goal is to try to recruit our own children back to,
I was going to say,
to live here. Yeah.
Doesn't mean they're always going to live away.
Exactly. So our goal is that. But we're just trying to tell the story. And honestly, I've read some history on town. Margaret Helen Scott's book is amazing. And, honestly, this whole community was marketed in the early days as Richland. Come and build your farm. Come and be a part of Richland, and it's been a marketing mantra since day one. And so we just want to invite people here, and realize that this is a great place to raise kids. It's safe, it's clean, the noise is less. There are economic opportunities here. There are, genuine people who really care. And when I was in the airline business, that the last couple years right there at the end of the pandemic, it was hard to be around the traveling public, I'll be honest. And when I would come home on the weekends, I felt like I was kind of nurtured by this community. And then I'd go back and do another 3-day trip, and coming home was my peace, my solace. It's what renewed my energy and my strength. And I know that other people have come here and have felt that same thing. Mm-hmm. And so, we know that with tourism too, that people, come up from the city for their weekend trip, and they just cannot stop raving about how wonderful it is here. And so we just believe in this story, and we want to share it.
When will the guidebook be published? Is that kind of a goal for this summer?
So the goal, I'm pushing for June 1st.
Okay.
Because I'm a little bit hyperactive, attention deficit, and if I can get hyper-focused on a project and just get it done, then that's kind of how it works. Because if you get muddled down in meetings, and it may never get done. And, done is better than never done. So I want to I want to put something together that's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. We're not going to slop this together, and we're going to make sure it has good grammar. We're going to make sure it's got great pictures, great design, good story. Something that everybody's going to be proud of. But we're pushing. We're pushing to get this done. So that's my goal. It's June 1st to the printer.
Has one been done before in the past, as far as you know, Craig?
Not quite like this, and that's what I'm excited about. This guidebook is that it's all of the things that Terry just mentioned. But as she said, it's there'll be data throughout, but it really is about stories, and and so it'll be from the perspective of individuals that have experienced these certain elements, and leaders in the community or people that are knowledgeable about things in the community, and one way how I see this really connecting is just this as my day job, I do workforce development kind of things and training initiatives and work with communities, and then what is really, the whole idea of workforce development has changed a lot over the years. In my career, it's changed from workforce development really meant, well, how do we recruit better? How does company A get people to apply to work at a certain location? Well, now, we have, even if they were successful in recruiting efforts, we have housing shortages. We have, commuting issues. We have a change in workplace culture. Some jobs are more, are flexible, or they're part-time work from home and part-time in the office. So that recruiting message has really changed from the HR professionals that do recruiting out there, and it really has to. We've realized in the big broad sense that workforce development needs to be very connected hand in hand with things like tourism, and we need to be talking about things like quality of life and why someone would want to relocate to an area. So it's less about it's actually less about what the company offers in terms of wages and hours. It's more about the flexibility that the job seekers expect to have or want to have in their careers. So surveys have been done recently, and the trend is absolutely turning this way. That under 35 job seekers that are under age 35 care more about being treated fairly in their workplace and having flexibility than they do about the salary.
That surprises me, Craig. I would think that at that age it's all about the almighty dollar, but I guess I'm wrong.
It really isn't. It really isn't. Wages are one of the last things that are kind of talked about. It's about wanting people that are, it kind of makes sense when you think about the generation that's, new into the workforce. They value experiences more than tangible material items. And that's not everyone, but absolutely that's emerging. And recruiters are taking notice of that. We're taking notice of that. And one of the first things that people will ask when they interview for any of the places in our area here is, what do people do on the weekends? What are the amenities like? What's the hospital like? It's questions like that. And so there absolutely is a trend that's moves in this way, and I think that this guidebook, one of the goals of the guidebook, is to really align that. So this is it's a tourism book, it's a Chamber of Commerce book, it's all of that. But this is something that we know the industries will have at their tables at job fairs. We know that this will be shared by employers to to prospects. So that's absolutely something that's very different than the past. Workforce development is there's several different extensions of that idea, and there's on one hand there's workforce retention, and then there's workforce attraction, and those have to work hand in hand, but sometimes they are separate initiatives. So really it's getting more nuanced, I guess you might say, and the employers are definitely expecting that organizations like the Chamber and other, nonprofit volunteer organizations in the communities can, we assist in this recruitment effort and the retention effort as well. We want the employees, that work hard and put in a lot of hours in our industries or in our hospitals or education places to have good experiences on the weekend, and that's what's going to keep them here. So along with that, we've got another leg here, and we know we have a housing shortage, and so what do we do with that? And so I'm excited because there are new initiatives that are emerging. There's new ideas that are emerging for how to, move forward here. But we are in kind of another phase of workforce attraction and development. And I've been paying attention to this closely as part of my job for almost 15 years now, and I'm excited. I was just talking this morning about the excitement of a new some new energy and just a different take and a willingness to fold quality of life into workforce development. It's really exciting for me.
The guidebook, I presume you're going to be having that out at like places where people lodge and things like that.
Lodging, and then of course the employers can have copies. We will be also doing a digital copy, just like the tourism book and the Parks and Rec book are online, and so that would be a great way for locals to be able to see the guidebook and enjoy it as well. I think sometimes it may be just good for us to read through it as locals and say, wow, I guess I do have all these great things. Sometimes we forget. We forget that our quality of life is amazing here, and that people are genuine and kind, and so sometimes we might just need to read that once a month just to keep our head in the game, because it can get frustrating. Sometimes we feel like we're beating our head against a wall. We've got issues with housing, and I'll argue that most cities actually have issues with housing. Housing is a challenge in other areas for cost. I mean, my one daughter pays $2,300 a month in Washington, D.C., and she only has a studio. So, I mean, housing is an issue worldwide. But yeah, we do have some unique housing issues, but it shouldn't be the main detractor from coming here when we have all these amazing attributes.
Yeah, you're right. And I think we all need to think about that. Sometimes, we drive by the beautiful hills in the fall and take it for granted, and the snowscape, and then in the summertime as well. When you live around here, sometimes you need to stop and smell the roses a little bit, don't you?
You do. And, Craig talked about that younger generation, and I'll be honest, a lot of them just want a place where they know their dog can roam and romp. So many of those 20-year-olds, they'll have that their dog is their family, and so there's a whole section in here about being pet friendly. We are very pet friendly. We have Chet's, and we have some of the best we got the dog park. We have lots of beautiful trails to walk your dog on, and it's just it's a very dog friendly. We're very animal friendly. We're outdoor friendly. We are family friendly. I wrote the section on family friendliness this last weekend, and I mean, it went on and on and on. So of course I have to do some editing and narrow that down a little bit. But between 4-H and clubs and schools, I mean, we have some great schools where parents can get involved in their children's education. And I worked with flight attendants who would tell me how they put their kids in private schools because they wanted to be involved. And I'm like, well, I live in Richland Center, and I can have my kid in the public school, and I'm very involved. And they, I would tell them about raising kids at Ithaca, and they'd be like, wow, that's really cool. That was really nice that you were able to be that involved and go to all those sporting events and all that. It just sounds like Utopia or, Stars Hollow or something. How do you get that? And so our schools are great. Our county fair is amazing. All these things are just what families are looking for. We have some great churches in this community, whether you're looking for, mainline denominational or non-denominational, so I wrote a section on churches and our faith community and how the Ministerial Association works together and Southwest Partners. And then there's a whole double-page spread on Grace. Grace is just phenomenal when you think about its history. And so there's a lot in there about that, and then our service clubs, and there's just it's as I write this, it's like, wow, this is a great place to live, and others need to know that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we look forward to seeing that and when it's published and whatnot. Let's talk about a little bit about the schedule for this year. The chamber, some exciting times are coming up here now that better weather is here.
Yeah,
and we could do some outdoor events, Terry.
Yeah, so Taste of the Hills is coming up quickly. That is going to be June 21st from 4 to 9. Going to be at the park like it has been the last few years. We have a new gal who's going to be opening for us. Unfortunately, Kelly Long was not able to be our opening act, which we loved Kelly, but he's not going to be able to be here this year. But we have Shalini Grunwald from Prairie du Chien. She is a young female artist who does covers and country music, and she spent some time in Nashville, so we're kind of excited to see what she brings. And then we have Three Souls, which everybody in the community just loves, Jeff and everybody in the band there. So and that's a great band. It gets everybody going and excited. And we're hoping to have some more lawn activities for people to do, just so that they can kind of. It just always felt like a great gathering for people to kind of get to see each other and enjoy each other's company. And so we'll be under the big tents again and having the music, the vendors. We'll be doing pizza, barbecue, street food, Italian food. Mexican food, a little bit of everything. Trying to attract a few new vendors this year, but we'll have the desserts too as well, Utter Brothers. So that's Taste of the Hills this year.
What's the date again?
June 21st.
21st, okay.
Yep. 4 to 9, and that'll be out at Crosscut Park.
A number of things go on in the month of June in our community, don't they, Craig?
June, it really is kind of it's an exciting time. There's a lot going on in June. And, every weekend there's something here, and there's always people coming through. And, generally our weather is really good in June, but everything, it kind of kicks off with, the Dairy Days events and the dairy breakfast and whatnot, and just really continues through that whole month. So, yeah, that's absolutely an exciting time. And that is, we have to think about these events too, as, we market these locally and with some farther reaches, but oftentimes people will arrive here and not know about a local event that's going on, and they'll drive by the park and then be like, "Well, there's music, and it looks like there's a bunch of food, and there's this." So a lot of times these community events that we think of as events for the community, we have people that have no association with Grace, but they came by and saw a bunch of people and they stopped, and then that's just a great way for them to get a sense for what the community is all about. All of those events are great, and they absolutely fold into this kind of quality of life theme that we're on. All of this plays a part in the quality of life that we have here.
The Wisconsin High School Rodeo Finals will be the week before. I know you've had it the same night sometimes, but and that works out. But maybe this year it'll be a little better, where you can kind of spotlight your event too, right?
June is just kind of a mess this year because of the way the weekends fall. I mean, some things are earlier, than what we're kind of used to. But it's a different. It's going to be a different June, so let's just enjoy.
Yeah, but it's great though when we have a couple weekends in a row we've got parades. Right downtown with the Memorial Day parade, and then the Dairy Days rodeo parade, and high school rodeo, again, and
dairy breakfast.
Dairy breakfast, and I just want to, while we're talking about those, I just really want to, put a thank you out there to the folks that volunteer and work with those events, because those are significant events, and with to be able to host the Wisconsin High School Rodeo is a big deal for the community, and I know that there's a small group of people that work really, really, really hard to do that every year. If that's an event that we want to keep, I just encourage anyone to reach out to the folks that are doing that work now and seeing if we can give them a hand, because they put in a lot of work to make that happen, and could probably use some extra hands at times. So feel free to reach out to them for sure. In the chamber as well, there's our kind of signature event is Taste of the Hills, because we're showcasing our local food entrepreneurs, and that really ties in well with our mission. But yeah, it's a great month, and we're anxious for it.
Mm-hmm. Should be, I think. It's just a sign of better weather, which we it seems like we have about 2 months of good weather. Anymore.
Yeah. Well, it changes pretty fast. It can change pretty fast around here, as we know. But it's one of my favorite months, and the trout fishing stream access is still pretty good. Hopefully the weeds and things haven't gotten too big yet, so or too tall to get in the way. So it's great for trout fishing weather as well, and we certainly see a lot of that in June.
I see it at your store as well, and people that come into the bookstore, Okuch Books and Libations and Mastodon Records, but you guys are kind of a hubbub of people coming in there from out of the area, and you just stand there for a few minutes and you realize, how many people actually stop by and you want information on what's going on, right?
Yeah, it is. It's that shop. It does get a lot of the visitors that are here, in the over the weekends or for long stays. It's certainly a place that people find, and it is a very unique. It's a very unique store. There's not many quite like it around here, and every weekend we've got someone who, a new friend that we've met from the cities or from somewhere else, or maybe they know someone here and they're visiting for the weekend and they stop in. Last weekend we had two couples that were friends, and one was from the Twin Cities area and the other one from the Milwaukee area, and they wanted to meet somewhere in between to spend a weekend together. Well, they chose Richland County, Wisconsin to meet.
We're in the middle of it.
Because we're right in the middle, basically. And then they actually met at, my shop downtown. That's where they decided to meet, make their official, and then go off from there. So that was really cool to see them arrive and hang around and interact with the local customers and loiterers, and but they got to see our pace of life is slower here. It is. And it really is, and I think that's something that we value, and that's something that it's important to us to take time to have conversations with our neighbors and people that we meet, and people get that sense when they come to downtown Richland Center. They get the sense that it's okay, to slow down a little bit. We don't need to bustle all the time. We work hard, but I think that we're resilient and persistent around here. And people, are in it for the long haul, if you will. And that is something that we do take for granted sometimes. And it's a good thing, because we build better relationships that way with people when we take the time to talk to them and get to know them. And visitors definitely notice that. I don't think we talk about that enough, but they really do notice that it's things slow down, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's part of your bed and breakfast business too. You see that a lot, don't you?
Definitely, yeah. The genuineness of just the interactions. We really do not understand. If you live here all the time, you just assume that this is how people are. No. I can tell you they are not that way all the time in other cities and other places. I mean, I've been around, lots of places in this country, and we have something special when it just comes to the interaction. There is a true, Wisconsin nice. There is a kindness that we have that is just natural. It's in our DNA. We for the most part, it's just it's hard to replicate anywhere else. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't fake it.
Yeah, look somebody in the eye and say hello. I mean, that's something you don't get all the time when you're visiting, traveling. So.
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's one of those things that is, like we've been saying here, we do kind of forget, because we take that for granted. But it's go back to that persistence thing and being resilient, and that's an initiative. In other groups that I work with, we're talking a lot about resiliency and what that means in a community. And for us, it means that we're prepared, that we watch out for our neighbors, we get to know our neighbors, and that we have a long-term plan, in place. There is something for the long term that we're working towards, and this community is reluctant to sacrifice the long term for the short term. And I think we see that in other communities sometimes where there's an initiative or a kind of new shiny object, and if you get overly aggressive about it, we might be shortchanging ourselves in those cultural things that we appreciate. We don't necessarily want the community doesn't necessarily want a faster paced lifestyle. It's counter to all these things that we're doing. And so, we're just talking a lot about those stories and then the opportunities that are here, that we also, don't maybe we don't talk about enough. And, if I could, Phil, being in workforce development here, I really have to take a moment here to, give a congratulations to Southwest Tech as being the Aspen Award winner. That's a big deal. That's the technical college that serves and services our area here in Richland County. And that award is the most prestigious 2-year college award in the country. It's Southwest Tech right here is the number one 2-year college in the United States. And it's different because we don't always see, that as much. And there's an outreach center here and that provides services that directly relate to workforce development. But there's a lot of the value that an organization like Southwest Tech brings is not as visual because these are customized trainings for continuing education and professional development that often occur right in those workplaces. So there's not a huge brick and mortar presence. There's not a need for a big campus, in part because of the way that innovative education is delivered, and that's one of the secrets there to the success that that Southwest Tech is having right now, and we certainly appreciate what they do. They train all of the local EMS folks and our firefighters and our law enforcement folks and then and lots of other things. But that's just one thing that they're involved in that definitely affects all of us.
Yeah, it does. Nursing is another thing, and so many students are headed in that direction. So at least to get the basics and
a lot of new initiatives, CNA programs and things like that, and last summer, my own daughter, was enrolled in the program at the Richland Hospital, and the idea was to get kids in there just to explore careers. It's escaping me right now the name of the program, but she came back really excited, and as soon as she's old enough, she wants to volunteer and. But that was a partnership with Southwest Tech that brought some kids into the hospital just
was
to see
Club Scrub?
Club Scrub.
Yeah.
Thank you, Terry.
There you go.
Yeah, Terry chimed in there. The Club Scrub. Yes, I knew it would come to me, but it's great. But that's what we mean when we talk about innovative and innovative education, innovative delivery does look differently than we've done in the past. The Richland School District has the charter school, that's going on now, and that they're having some great success with that. So again, the other part of my hat that I wear is in education and adult education specifically for me, but there is all sorts of innovative ways that people are finding opportunities to upskill and learn those skills, and we'd be remiss to not talk about the loss of our Richland UW Richland campus here, and that's were circumstances that had nothing to do with this community. That was something that was kind of outside of our control, and others are stepping up and trying to fill some of those gaps, but it will take more work to make sure that people continue to have opportunities for education and professional development going forward. All of these industries are changing all the time, and it's changing faster and faster, and so we just need to be innovative and on top of it, and so we're lucky to have that here as well.
Yeah, huge loss of the campus, as you mentioned, but you go back to the word you used earlier, resiliency, and I think that's the way you got to be, right?
It is the way but that's part of our DNA around here, so we've got an advantage. It is. We're not gonna, we're not gonna stop working hard because the hay got rained on. We're going to keep working, and we're going to, and that's absolutely, the ethos of the community. It's what will, it's something that's an advantage in our community, and it will serve us well going forward.
Very good. We'll take more. We'll take a time out and have more about Greater Richland Area Chamber of Commerce when we continue. Terry Richards and Craig Woodhouse are in the studio with us talking about Greater Richland Area Chamber of Commerce as we get a little deeper into the year and look at some of the big events coming up here. And I think one of the things you want to really emphasize is we need that support not only from outside the area at some of these events, but we need local people to support it as well, Terry.
Yeah, definitely. When we put on an event like a Business After 5, a lot of our business owners that have done that, they've, put out a beautiful spread of food and libations, and they hope that people come. They're sending out handwritten letters, and invitations for people to come. And we'd love to see better attendance at some of these things. And it's an opportunity for the business owners to kind of mingle a little bit and commiserate with each other a little bit as well. And so attendance is so important, whether it's a Business After 5 or it's a big event like Taste of the Hills, or a night market or any of those things, wine walks. It's important that we have good attendance, because once you get to a certain point, then that energy of the event just it swells and people feel it. They may not be able to put their finger on it, but they're like, wow, something's happening. And that gives them hope. And so you won't be a part of that hope or that energy if you don't go. You have to go to the events to feel that. And so I just make a plea to everybody to maybe start being a little more intentional about putting events on your calendar. And then saying, no, that's important to me. I think that's an important thing to do, an important thing to support. And just your little presence is a support. We don't even always need all your money. We just need your presence, and your energy that you bring, and the conversation that you bring, and the stories you tell each other. So I encourage people just to kind of be a little more intentional about attending things that they feel are important in this community, whether it's the dairy breakfast or a parade. All those things, there's just energy to it, and we can't do it without presence.
Yeah, and I know we mentioned social media. You're really working hard to try to get the word out on some of these events.
Yeah. So I'm tasked with doing social media right now. I'm very thankful to Amanda, who's helped lay down a lot of our graphic design for us, and she designed a lot of things and really has helped us. But I really am kind of the one doing it at the moment. And a couple of things that we are trying to do more is we actually do want to post job openings for different businesses. So if you have a job opening and you want us to post it, send us a private message, and we'd be happy to make a post and highlight your openings. If you have an event schedule, so say you are a restaurant and you got certain special nights coming up, or if you're a bar and you have some different music coming up, or if you're a charitable group like 80 German who has different events on their Friday nights, you got things coming up, we want to know at the chamber so that we can make a post as well. So if you share those things inside of private messenger and send us the link, it's really quite helpful, because then also the algorithm is seeing that post is generating conversation, and the algorithm's always looking for that. They're always looking for conversation. And so another thing other than attendance, just liking and sharing posts on social media is very important. And even just a little comment makes that thread all of a sudden be more active and more organic. And so even with our posts and all the posts of this community, if people are actually reading it, instead of scrolling on by, stop for a moment and say, hey, that sounds like a great thing, or, send a word of encouragement or ask a question. Those things make a huge difference in social media. And social media, you feel like you're throwing, see whatever sticks to the wall. And it can be a little bit disheartening sometimes doing social media, because you never know if anybody's actually looking at it. But then you'll be out in the public, and 2 weeks later somebody will say, oh yeah, I saw that on Facebook. Well, if you saw it, why don't you say something? It's a two-way conversation, and we need to engage with it a little bit more. And then it's important when businesses actually make a post, let us know. We'll share it. I try to stay active in the different groups, and I'm trying to scroll through Facebook myself to see if there's anything to reshare. But we don't always know everything that businesses are sharing, but we want to share it for our members, for sure. And so also, if you have a ribbon cutting that you're thinking about doing sometime this summer, we want to be a part of that. We want to drum up some excitement, some energy for that, and make sure that all the right people know about that ribbon cutting. We have those chamber gift checks still out there, and there are some that haven't been redeemed, we know, and they work really well. The businesses love them. We love them. The administrative part of it has been figured out, and they work slick. And you'll see then the different businesses that actually take them. They'll have a little placard at their business by their cash register. And if they don't take them, ask them why they don't, so that they can kind of contact us and say, hey, we want to take these chamber gift checks, because they're very, very convenient for the businesses and such. So, if you have something going on, please send us. We'll post that on Facebook.
Can people still get the chamber bucks checks, Craig?
Yes, they are. They absolutely are available. They're called chamber checks, and it functions just like a check. You can inquire to those right from our website, or you can stop in at Christie's.
Yep. Or you can send a private message. If you want more information. So
send a private message to the chamber, or from the website. But they've been very successful. People love them. We had a number of businesses that used them as holiday gifts last season, and gave employees $20 chamber checks and so forth. And I think the Richland Locker has been doing well, but with this, it seems to be the place where people like to use them the most, and that's great. We're all for that. It helps them, and helps the community out as well. But if you're thinking about a gift card of some sort for any kind of a gift, graduation is coming up, and we're into wedding season and things like that. Absolutely, I think the chamber checks are a great way to give someone a nice gift, and then let them choose exactly how they want to spend it. But we're really excited. That's a project that we had been working on for a long time, and we're it's up and going now. So, but Terry's right. The businesses that accept those have a window decal, and then a little placard right by the register, and certainly you can just ask them if they accept them or not. But
and we have quite a few restaurants that accept them.
Yes.
So with Mother's Day and Father's Day is coming up, if you don't know what to get your mother and father, but they love to go out to eat, that's a perfect gift for them as well.
Great. What about new businesses? Anybody come to mind there? Anything opening up here in the near future, Craig?
Well, nothing that I'm directly aware of. There's always conversations going on, and I'll let others speak to that more directly. But I guess I can just attest that I know there's a lot of inquiries. There is always a lot of inquiries, and there are things going on that aren't that I'm not aware of. Even and sometimes the public aren't, but there's a lot of interest. Companies are always looking for places that have some of the things that we have, that we've talked about here. There are challenges as well, but it's not because companies and businesses and grocery stores, for example, they're not overlooking us. They're trying to figure out what's best for them as a business, and so. No, nothing that I can speak of, but I know that there's some things going on, downtown that are exciting. It seems like the space that's next to Los Amigos is progressing. I don't know exactly the timeline there, but they're looking for that as a gathering place, maybe banquet kind of facility, party space kind of thing, and that's moving along. The dining options I think are pretty good right now downtown, and really in the community we do have a nice variety here. As opposed to, I think we kind of hit a little bit of a low point maybe 8 years ago or something like that. It didn't seem like we had a lot downtown, but we do now. And I think that's always a market that's developing and changing and growing. And people are always inquiring about that. What would it take for my restaurant or my idea to work here? So, yeah, those are things that are going on. There's some other, things as well, but there's certainly interest, and because there's the need here, and these whether it's a large company or small business trying to get a start, there's always discussions around that. So that's good. That's a positive thing.
So we do have a Business After 5 coming up, and it's pretty exciting because it's put on by a group that's doing an event. So it's not really a business, it's more of an event. But Hub City Dirt Drags is actually doing a Business After 5. And so they are doing that on May 8th. It's a Thursday night from 5 to 7. It's at the fairgrounds. And what they're wanting is businesses to come who want to kind of co-market with them. That want to maybe have some different events and great for networking. Looking at, businesses that want to do event weekend specials that particular weekend. Their event is actually Friday the 9th and 10th, Friday and Saturday. And Hub City Dirt Drags is very active on social media, and they will repost. So say you're, doing a little sidewalk sale or a little special Dirt City or Hub City Dirt Drag sale in your business. You can talk to them at Business After 5 and kind of mingle and figure out how you can work together to increase that foot traffic, that energy. And then they're still looking for vendors and stuff as well. And so they're looking for collaboration.
Yeah, those are big things come out in the community.
Yeah.
And you talk about the dirt drags, you talk about the rodeo, and they can't be there the whole time. A lot of times,
Right.
Maybe they want to walk around downtown and see what's going on, or visit some of the businesses in the county too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Those events, they generate the traffic and the buzz and that energy that Terry talked about earlier. That is the difference sometimes in an event is just when there's more people, there's more energy and people just feel better about it. So absolutely, there's a number of these events are kind of a free admission.
Yeah.
You can get in.
Family friendly.
Family friendly. You can get in for low or no cost, and then once you're in there, there's opportunities to spend your money. But there's a lot of events. A lot of the events are free events that we're talking about today.
Yeah, great. Thanks for what you do, you guys.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add, Terry?
We got one other Business After 5 coming up in July, and that's going to be with VARC. We're kind of looking forward to that one. They're such a great organization, and so, they're going to have a Business After 5, and if you've ever seen them at the parades, they just have a good time, and so I encourage people to support VARC and come to their Business After 5 as well, because they're going to put on a party for us.
Yeah, they have a lot of enthusiasm.
They do. They do.
All right. Well, thanks, guys, for coming in today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Craig Woodhouse and Terry Richards representing Greater Richland Area Chamber of Commerce on today's morning show.